2023 is finally behind us. There's a couple of things about this channel I want to share with you guys, some changes, things I'm actually really excited about, but definitely kind of a change of pace on the channel. Additionally, I want to talk about 2023 metrics. I think that there are a few of you guys that will be interested to take a look at my 2023 YouTube metrics. Not because I made money, we're not monetized, but really, I know that there's folks that have considered the idea of creating content. Some of you guys may be creating content and you're just curious of how possibly your channel compares to a new channel like mine. For folks that don't know, I only started doing YouTube sports card content January of 2023. So we're officially about a year into this thing. We'll talk about growth. We'll talk about a number of things. So I want to talk about that as well, which will kind of play together. And then probably most importantly in today's video, I want to talk about a data-driven review of the sports card hobby. We're going to take a look at eBay data. Specifically, we're going to get really deep into how data trends from 2023 kind of looked in comparisons to certain months in 2022. And then we're really going to break it down by sport. So we're going to look at baseball cards, football cards, basketball cards, hockey, and soccer cards, and really kind of dive into each market as an independent market to really give some analysis that maybe is more beneficial than just talking very broadly about the sports card landscape, even though we'll roll it up into the sports card landscape. So a couple of those are going to come in the video, but I want to start really talking about this channel and where we're heading. And today's going to be what I'm going to dub as episode 1 of the CM podcast. And really, we're going to try and focus more on long form content this year. I know that's not necessarily what everybody who has subscribed to this channel or who watches on a regular basis is looking for, but it's the type of content that I really want to make. I think that there's a need for it. I want to do more podcasting, do more audio type podcasting. We're going to look to upload this and future episodes onto traditional podcast platforms. Really excited about those opportunities. I mentioned as well, we're also really focused on the website, chasingmajors.com. We've been writing a number of different articles, which has been a fun adventure. And I really do think that that's something that I'm going to continue to progress in 2024. And in fact, I'm really looking for the website to really partner along with the type of content that we're creating. I want to also start doing more guest appearances and really bringing in other people's opinions, possibly looking for, conflicting opinions, maybe kind of take some approach with some debate, possibly even, push some boundaries, get in more controversial type content creators and or influencers within the hobby, really kind of push folks on, where their hobby is trending in 2024, what their beliefs are, asking folks to maybe move outside their box. So those are things that I'm going to at least investigate in 2024. But long form content, podcast style content is really what my intention is. I hope you guys will follow along in this journey with me as we make a change from kind of 5-10 minute videos and really focus more on the spoken word and opinions, data analysis, market data, and not just wild speculations, even though we'll do some of that along the way, I'm sure. But I want it to be a fairly open kimono, very broad approach of where we might take the channel. But again, very much in the podcast realm. And so I'm very excited about 2024. That's it. Before we take a look at 2023 metrics, need to take a quick moment, and I want to shout out a affiliate sponsor of ours. That's Card Shells. We've been working with them for the last few months in 2023. I actually found out about Card Shells from Striker Breaks. That's a pretty decent sized breaking channel here on YouTube. He became an affiliate for them. I actually used his affiliate code when I originally purchased products from Card Shells. For folks that don't know, card shells, they are essentially doing protection for your cards. So the various semi-rigids and penny sleeves and plastics and those sort of things that we protect our cards with, they've come into that marketplace. They're American-owned, veteran-owned, small company, based out east, I think in Pennsylvania. And you know, everything that they do is really what I want to help try and support. I really do think that we should be looking for great, innovative companies. It sounds really stupid to say this, or really funny to say this, but innovation in the card protection world is a real thing. What they've done with their penny sleeves, trying to make sure that we're not dinging corners as we're putting our cards in penny sleeves and charging us the same prices that the ultra pros and the bigger companies are doing. I'm a big fan. I hope that you guys will genuinely take it an opportunity to go to cardshells.com, check out what they have. Additionally, a couple of things. We are about to do our 500th subscriber giveaway. We are getting really close. I think we're about 485, 490-ish. So we're only maybe 10 away. If you're not subscribed, you want to be a part of our 500 giveaway, please go subscribe. But every dollar we have earned, and a handful of you guys have actually used our affiliate code, so I'd certainly appreciate that. But every dollar we've earned in essentially commissions. Now, let me pull back. They don't pay me money. They give me credits towards future supplies. And so I want to take every dollar that we've earned and I want to give back. And so for our 500th subscriber giveaway, we're going to be giving away a $100 package to go buy some supplies over at Card Shells. We want to continue to see the Card Shells affiliation program flourish here on our channel and on the podcast and on the website. If you guys want to save $10 on an order of 50, knowing that my goal is to take the dollars that we're earning and give back to our community, you can do that by going and clicking our link or using discount code Chasing Majors. If you choose to spend $50, you're going to save $10. That's a hell of a savings. Essentially, that's what you're going to pay in shipping on an order ranging $50. You're going to pay about $9 in shipping. So you're essentially spending $50. You're getting your shipping for free. You do that by using Chasing Majors, one word, no spaces, or even easier than that, go to our website, click the affiliate link. It'll direct you over to their page, and it will pre-populate that our affiliate code at checkout for you guys. We all buy supplies, we all buy plastics, we all buy products to secure our cards, to protect our cards. You might as well go do this with a up-and-coming company. It's really focused on you and I, the customer. We're not just numbers, we're not just whatever. They are, as I said, veteran-owned. They stand for a lot of things I stand for. Go check them out, and then if you do, I'm looking to just give back. I want to be able to take what we're going to do or make and just give that back to you guys. So go check that out. 500 giveaway. We will be doing that on hopefully the next podcast, if not the podcast after that, depending upon how quickly we can get the next 10-ish subscribers that we need. And I'll look to do that on the podcast, maybe even try and go live. I've not done that yet, but we may look at going live just so everything is on the up and up. But all you have to do is subscribe. It's going to be that simple. I'm not sure if I'm going to do one $100 gift card or if I'm going to do, like 4 $25 gift cards or what increments I'm going to do. But at a minimum, one or multiple subscribers to this channel will be in the running for a $100 prize package. So check into that. I certainly appreciate everybody for hitting that little button and following us in this journey. All right, let's get back to our metrics. And I'm actually going to shift up my screen here. So anybody who may be listening along, I'm actually just going to pull into my YouTube metrics and share that on the actual screen here on YouTube. But we'll go ahead and we'll read through these. These are key metrics. Now, this isn't every metric that we have, but for folks that may not be content creators, but may have interest to understand what small channels like mine in the sports card niche, what a first year looks like from our perspective. I certainly am not the fastest growing YouTube year one. I'm certainly not the slowest growing. It's been a fun year. And I want to kind of highlight some of these sort of things. So what you don't see on the screen is we ended up posting 50 total videos on our channel this year. Those videos essentially turned into 31,567 total views, which is a staggering amount. Our biggest video to date just crossed over 5,000. We're at 5,001, it looks like. That's about 15% of our total views is one video. That's a video we made back in the summer about the sports card market potentially dropping as much as 84%. I know a number of subscribers also subscribed from that video, so I appreciate anybody who came to us from that. We've been making a little bit more market analysis type content since, and we're going to continue that in 2024. But 31,000 total views. The interesting piece to that, total watch time, we're about 1,600 hours in watch time. And for anybody who's ever looked at YouTube monetization, watch hours and total subscribers are the two most critical things. That's why I wanted to share these with you guys for any potential content creators, sports card space specifically. I want you guys to understand, I got about 1,600 watch hours in year one. I started making content January of 2021 or 2023, excuse me. We've been here doing this for a year, 50 total videos later. We're not even halfway there. And you have to be able to maintain a level, I think, of 4,000 watch hours every single year. So every 365 days, from the minute that you hit that pinnacle, you have to be able to maintain that. Couple of things you're gonna have to do that is content creation. You're gonna have to post. You gotta post, or you gotta create long form content and get people interested to listen and watch your long form content. I'll be honest, I don't have the time, the bandwidth to do regular postings. I'm not gonna make 5-6 videos a week. Unfortunately, it's just not what I'm interested in either. I like watching other people's content, and I don't necessarily wanna take the time, nor do I have the time, specifically in the summer time frame where I golf 100 times a year. I've got other things that I like to do, but I really do spend a vast majority of my entertainment time in a given day listening to podcasts. I listen to them at work when I have opportunities. I listen to them at the house. I listen to podcasts when I work out. I listen to podcasts on the golf course. So podcasting and that long form content is really where my interest is. And that's the direction I'm going to be pushing myself towards. So watch hours hopefully will go up, but at the end of the day, as long as I'm making the type of stuff that I'm proud to make, and as long as hopefully it inspires you guys or you guys find it entertaining, then that's the type of content that you're going to see here on this channel in 2024. Total subscribers, here's an interesting thing. 361 new subscribers from January 1 through December 31st. Interesting thing here. Now we're close to 500 total subscribers. Let me explain some of that. Prior to my sports card days, so prior to January 2023, I had done some golf content on the channel, built up 200 subscribers, kind of moved away from that. I then posted like a mini series of weekly marathon preparation blogs. I ran a marathon the February before the pandemic started, and it did weekly kind of endurance training, marathon type training, blogs, vlogs along the way. And the couple hundred subscribers I had in the golf space, a good portion of those folks moved away from the channel. They unsubscribed, but I probably gained about 200 subscribers in that couple 3 months that I did my marathon preparation. And so prior, as I started the year, I had a couple hundred subscribers on the channel already. They were a mixture of former golf folks that just didn't pull away from the channel, or they were a mixture of marathon folks that hadn't pulled away from the channel. So when I started posting sports card content, a number of those folks started pulling away from the channel. So really January through kind of mid portion of the year, I was gaining subscribers and losing subscribers just as fast as I was gaining. So it really kind of took me till July to really buck that trend and start gaining more quickly than I was losing. Even still to this day, I lose a couple of subscribers every single week. I'm okay with that. I guess I think of them as legacy subscribers. You know, some of them may be the sports card subscribers that are no longer interested in my type of content. That's okay. At the end of the day, if you're not interested, then, you know, I want you to certainly go out and forge your way, figure out what you're interested in. If it's not me, if it's not what we're doing here, cool. But my journey from a subscriber count has been really odd, where if you're starting a brand new channel, maybe you're starting at 0, your journey may look slightly different. I don't know that I had an advantage, by the way, of having a small group of subscribers. And here's why: because YouTube wants to show the legacy group and the legacy folks that potentially were looking for endurance athletes or endurance sports. He wanted to show them the type of content that I was creating. So when I started reposting the sports card content, it was really being marketed, or it was really being distributed to the wrong people. So it really took us quite a few months to really get moving in the right direction. There's some legacy OGs that have been watching the channel for a while. I've met a couple of you guys. I've chatted with a couple of you guys. I appreciate you guys being here kind of from the onset early in January. And then there's been many of you guys really since the summer. That's when the vast majority of you guys and more of the more regular watchers of our content kind of caught on. So 361 net new. That doesn't include what we lost along the way. We're just shy of 500, as I've mentioned a couple of times. I'm excited about getting over that 500 mark and moving or marching towards that 1,000 subscriber count. Total impressions. This is the number of times YouTube tried sharing my content with strangers. Some of them would have been you guys as potential subscribers or watchers of the channel. Some of that would have been just other people potentially interested in sports cards. Certainly at the beginning of the year, that would have been folks that were more interested in endurance athletics. So 346,000 impressions. Of that, we got about 3,100 or 31,000, total views. So you can kind of get an idea of impressions versus views, what that percentage looks like. It's not staggering. Unfortunately, I wish it was much higher, but it'll be an interesting move forward path for us as we move more into long form content. The days of kind of 5-minute, 10-minute videos are probably going to be less and less around here. So fully transparent, guys, if that's not what you guys are interested in, and you're not looking for more long form, opinionated, opinion-based type content, then maybe this isn't a channel for you. And I wish you guys farewell, and maybe I'll catch you guys on the flip side. But if you guys are interested in more of that long form type content, that's where we're moving in 2024. It's the type of content that I want to do. I want to be able to come do an hour a week making and sharing, cards. I want to be talking about cards. I want to be, hosting guests. I want to be doing more long form, and I want to do that in a 1-hour commitment. I also want it to be the type of stuff where I know this is how I use a lot of YouTube. I'll throw that on it as kind of noise in the background. I'm paying attention to it, but I'm also focused on other things. Hopefully some of you guys, will use the type of move forward content we're going to be publishing in a very similar way. I'm interested to know what you guys think about these metrics. I know that there's a couple of other folks that have also created their channel around the same time as ours. I will be very interested to go and see if they end up doing an analysis of the very similar data that we're sharing with you guys, and then doing a comparison. How are they performing versus us? What are they doing? Again, I don't look at this as a competition necessarily. It's not what we're in this for, but it's definitely interesting to see how people grow, how fast they're growing in comparisons to how fast we're growing. So I wanted to be completely transparent with you guys, because that's what we want to do around here, is be open, honest, share at a level that hopefully you guys are certainly appreciating. So I know that, I would have appreciated seeing some of this information a year ago when I was thinking about jumping into this space. All right, let me switch over to another screen here. All right, website, chasingmajors.com. I wrote an article on the 4th of January. We got that posted up. That's what you guys are looking at. We're going to pull some of the information from this to talk about the overall state of the hobby. We're going to be looking at data, kind of a data-driven analysis is really where my mindset was as we were creating this, about the overall state of 2023 and the hobby in 2023. I went and I pulled eBay data. eBay is the biggest online resource. You guys know this. It's the biggest marketplace. It's the biggest auction house. We'll go through some of the numbers. I think that they're staggering. I think that you guys will enjoy some of this. But it'll also help paint a picture of exactly where we're at in the market. And then I'll share some color towards the end around where I think we're heading and why we're heading it there. And we are, again, going to break this down into various sports. So baseball cards versus football versus basketball versus hockey versus soccer, and then kind of everything else that falls inside the greater sports card space. So if you guys are listening to this on podcast, feel free to go over to chasingmajors.com. You guys can navigate over to the article section and find the state of the sports card market. And you can find some of this data. We do have some graphs in here. If you go hover on those graphs, they're interactive graphs. You can go hover on those and you can see a month over month per view. And then we'll certainly talk about these as we continue to look at the rest or talk through the rest of episode 1 here. So I want to kind of push you guys towards the middle portion of the article. You're going to see a section called the 2023 eBay sports card sales volume. We're going to look at a couple of things. We want to look at the total volume of sales, right? How many total cards transacted on eBay, sports cards, by the way, not trading cards. So these numbers do not count for Pokemon or Magic the Gathering or Star Wars cards or any other non-sports cards. We're strictly talking sports cards here. We're a sports card channel. We're only focused on sports cards. It may be somewhat relevant from a trading card perspective, but generally everything that we're focused on is, again, sports card related. So when I say sports cards, it's, sports cards include tennis and hockey and soccer and basketball and football and golf, MMA, F1, NASCAR, football, if I already said that, so on and so forth, boxing. That's sports cards when we talk about that category. Again, we're going to break this into the 5 largest micro groups inside the greater sports card space: baseball, football, basketball, hockey, and soccer. Okay. Getting back to the point here, total volume of cards transacted. Now, these are trading card singles or sports card singles. So these numbers don't include the boxes that sold or packs or any sort of breaking events that sold. This doesn't include supplies. Again, go check out our friends over at Card Shells for supplies. This doesn't include any of that, right? Cases of cards, maybe even display cases, anything related to sports cards that's not a single, an individual sports card. We're talking the sale of individual sports cards here. Total for the year, 37.7 million cards transacted, sold on eBay in 2023. Again, that's all sports cards. Let's break this down into those 5 major sports. Baseball, number 1, right? 17.8 million, or 47% of the cards that transacted on eBay were baseball cards. And real quick, just for a moment of clarity, I know oftentimes baseball cards kind of gets used as a general term for sports cards. Today's video, if I'm referring to baseball cards, I'm literally referring to the sport of baseball, okay? Football cards, 10.6 million cards sold in 2023. About 28% of the overall marketplace is football cards. Basketball, nobody's surprised that they're number 3, 6.2 million, pretty decent number, about 16%. Hockey came in 4. Hockey was essentially 4.5% at 1.7 million, and soccer, about 1.3 million soccer cards, about 3.5% of the overall. Additionally, on the website, again, chasingmajors.com, end of year article, go to the article section, you guys can find it. We also share the averages. I'm not going to necessarily go over every sport here, but month over month average for the 12 months of 2023, the average month, 3,148,435 cards across all sports cards, not just the big 5. Across any sports card, 3.1 million cards sell every single month on eBay. Again, they're the biggest marketplace, not only from a volume perspective, which is what we're talking about right now, but they're also the biggest marketplace from a sales perspective. But for me, these are staggering numbers. I'm assuming you're feeling the same way. 37.7 million cards sell. That, again, When you start adding in packs and cases, these numbers get really, really big, really fast, because a good chunk of the marketplace includes box sales and pack sales and sets and everything else that comes with sports cards. So we're just talking singles in this case. 37 million singles essentially sold across eBay in 2023. Staggering number. Curious what you guys think. 3 million every single month. Again, staggering. Again, in the article, you guys have a reactive chart or an interactive chart. You can go look at every sport month by month. There is the other category. The other category would exclude the top five. So that would be boxing and tennis and golf and F1 and MMA and wrestling. That's WWE wrestling for anybody's to be very clear on exactly what that is. Olympic cards, cycling cards, whatever, cricket, whatever other sports is in that other category. It is interesting to look at this, right? When we look, and by the way, the graph is going to show you guys about a 15-month purview. So it's December 2023, taking you back to the end of Q1 2022. The reason why I want to give 15 months is because I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to compare how we were finishing 2022 as we moved into 2023. We've got sales data going back 5 years related to eBay available to us. That big of a purview is pretty big to take a look at, and maybe not as relevant. We all know, what 2019 looked like pre-pandemic. We all know what took place during the pandemic. We all know what the landslide looks like post-pandemic, the unsustainable numbers of the pandemic. Really, though, as we're no longer focused on what the pandemic did to the sports card marketplace. That's now multiple years in the past. We're really now focused, and I'm very hyper-focused on what the last 15 months look like, and then forecasting what the next year looks like. That's really what a lot my analysis is going to be on the future podcasts as we bring in specialists in this space. We're going to be talking kind of in those groups, and we're going to put the pandemic behind us because unfortunately we're not getting those numbers anytime soon. But what I do think some of these numbers are showing is some strength in, we did gain a net group of folks that had fallen out of the hobby and they've returned. They've come into the hobby for the very first time. Many of these folks appear to be adults. They appear to be kind of between 30 and 50, 55 of age. I know I went to the National in 2023 out in Chicago, and we'll be attending the 2024 National. I'm excited about that. But the National was kind of proof in the pudding. The volume of attendees, I think it's either the largest or the second largest National to date. The prior National, the prior, I think, high was out in LA 20, 30 years ago. So, we did see more interest in the sports card hobby. And I think that from a volume perspective, we're seeing some of that in this numbers. And let me kind of point some of that out. Look at October, November, December of 2022, right? Fairly flat, kind of pushing right around that 300,000 mark. Every year, it doesn't matter which year we look at, generally January, February, March, we start trending up related to dollars spent, and we start trending up related to total volume of cards sold. We see that, and then come March, April time frame through August, that's the peak time frame for sports cards. That's not earth-shattering news. I think that's been fairly known within most circles inside the sports card space who looks at data and analysis and trending. The summer, that's the most active, maybe not the best time to buy sports cards, but it's the most active time inside the sports card space. I fully expect we're going to continue to see that. I think January is going to be a good month, specifically the month that we're in, January of 2024. I think February will continue to grow, March. And outside of a major economic crisis inside the US, I fully expect that the cycle will look fairly similar. But if you look at 2022's data versus 2023's data, the volumes are slightly lower, not tremendously. One interesting thing took place. December of 2023, as you guys can see on the chart, if you guys go to the website or if you're following along with us, December 2023, we actually have an uptick, an unexpected uptick that we weren't necessarily forecasting. And that's a good thing. It's not a crazy uptick in comparisons to the 2022 numbers. But when you look at November and October and September 2022 versus, what they were in 2023, Seeing this uptick in December is showing some signs of strength related to volume. That's a very, very positive momentum sign. Again, we'll see, I think, additional growth January, February, March. We'll see what the summer brings us. But I'm still of the belief we're going to see a weaker marketplace as far as overall values, trending kind of across the greater sports card marketplace, right around 10 digits, so 10% or less, so single digits to 10%, somewhere in that range. That's essentially what we lost in overall values in 2023. I fully expect we'll see more of that in 2024. We'll talk through some of that here in just one second, but you guys can go ahead and take a look at some of this analysis. You can start connecting some dots. We've made it available for you guys. Go check it out, jasonmajors.com. All right, total sales. So we now have a basic understanding of the total volumes, kind of interesting data. 37.7 million cards sold 2023. Well, what does that equate to in dollars? So this isn't profit, but when we think about singles, trading card singles on eBay, whether they're being sold on a buy it now or a best offer, or they're going to auction and selling that way, regardless of how we think of that, it's a marketplace. 37.7 million cards transacted in that marketplace. They sold for $1.2 billion, right? Crazy number. Again, this is only eBay. This is only looking at trading card singles. This isn't including brand new product releases, cases, boxes, packs. This isn't hobby shops. This isn't other major auction houses. This isn't ComC and other major online marketplaces. This isn't the large shows or even your regional shows. Just on eBay, $1.2 billion industry for reselling singles, because that's essentially what we're doing, is we're reselling the singles. This isn't anything greater than that. A $1.2 billion plus industry, because every other auction house that we look at just adds to this. To me, it's amazing. It's amazing numbers, right? Sports card market is not dead. It's $1 billion industry. Hopefully, for anybody curious as to how big the industry is, just in eBay, it's a $1.2 billion industry. Fully expect that we're going to continue seeing it be $1 billion industry in 2024, but I do think it slightly downticks. I don't think it's going to be tremendous. I think we'll see a slight decrease, similar to the slight decrease that we've seen between 2022 and 2023. Let's break this down based upon sports. Baseball cards still in number one as far as the total dollar amounts for cards that transacted. $466 million worth of baseball cards transacted. That's about 38% of the greater sports card market space. Football still in number two at 350 million, give or take. Basketball, number three still at just a hair over $300 million, about 25% of the overall marketplace. And that's kind of interesting, right? So baseball cards are about 50% of the total volume of sales, but it's only about 40% or less than 40% of the dollars spent. That's interesting. And what this is going to tell us, and we'll talk about this a little bit more here in just a moment, but that's telling us that the lower end of the baseball card market is healthier. And we'll kind of, I'll drive that point home in just a second. Football, obviously, kind of just generally healthy all around. Basketball, number three, about 16% of the cards, the volume of cards that sold, but about 25% of the dollars spent. Very interesting. It's going to tell us that the top end, the more exclusive high dollar cards are selling on the basketball space, not necessarily aligning with baseball, not necessarily aligning with football, which is kind of more middle of the road. We then take a look at soccer, which leapfrogged hockey as far as the market cap. Soccer, about $47 million of soccer cards sold in 2023. That's only about 4% of the overall marketplace. When we look at the greater marketplace, $47 million, but it did slightly edge out hockey at $45 million, about 3.73% is what that came in at. Interesting when we look at these total price points. Again, we also did monthly averages for the 12 months of 2023. I'm not going to go through the sports. You guys can go to the article yourself, check out the individual sports if you're interested. But the total sales, $100 million every single month transacts on eBay in the sports card space. $100 million, right at $100 million, $100 million and some change, but right at $100 million basically, right? That's across all sports. That includes, the golfs and the tennises and the F1s and the NASCARs, so on and so forth. $100 million every single month. Still big dollars when we talk about the overall reselling space. This is the reselling space. This isn't the new product releases being distributed by Topps and Panini and Upper Deck. This is really the reselling space. So interesting, this overall marketplace. Again, similar chart that we're looking at is a stacked bar chart. You can go break these down month over month if you guys are interested to see, what baseball did in February of 2023 versus what it did in August of 2023. I do want to talk about soccer here for just 1 second. Soccer is the very top section of this double stacked chart. And if we look at October, November, December of 2022, the stack on this stacked bar chart, so the stack is higher. They're bigger, right? Meaning in December of 2022, $7.6 million worth of soccer cards sold December 2022. Fast forward 1 year, soccer, only $2.9 million of soccer sold. Soccer is concernable, to be totally fair. Just want to be brutally honest for any of the soccer fans out there. We'll talk about why the upper end is kind of running the show right now and why the low end of soccer almost is non-existent. The thing that's relative to understand here is the World Cup took place in December of 2022. So leading up to that, we're seeing some of that bubble market that was created. But soccer is trending down, and it's trending down pretty significantly. We're going to talk about that here in just one quick moment. But before we do, I then took the average or the total sell dollars, right, the sales amount. I divide that by the volume sold. And what that gives us is the average sold item price, or the average price per transaction on eBay. Again, we're going to look at this as a sport value. Basketball leapfrogs baseball and football to be the highest dollar amount spent per transaction, $48.86. Why is that? Why is that? Well, the high end of basketball is keeping basketball elevated right now. So that ultra premium, the high 4-figure cards, the 5-figure cards, even the 6-figure cards are really dominant in the basketball space. That doesn't mean that they're not dominant in some of the other spaces. It just means in the basketball space, the high dollar cards are overinflating the greater space. The lower dollar cards, where the vast majority of the sports cards lie, or the basketball cards lie, most cards are basically valueless, as we've talked about in prior videos and in prior articles. But basketball's low-end space is not in a healthy space right now. It's that really high dollar marketplace that seems to be holding it up, and it's really being led by Michael Jordan cards. No surprise to anybody. Kobe Bryant, LeBron kind of come in second and third in that same space. LeBron's taken a pretty significant hit, but some of his very rare low pop type cards, really high dollar stuff still is relevant in the marketplace. The basketball market, that high end, is really what's kind of keeping basketball, moving forward. Doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy, which we'll talk about here in a second when we get into the breakdown per sport. But basketball's high end is really holding up the basketball marketplace. And that's the exact same thing for soccer. Soccer comes in number 2 on this list. $35.98 is the average price spent per transaction on eBay. Football comes in at $32.40, kind of middle of the road, as we expect when we look at the fact that it's number 2 in volume, number two in total dollars spent, staying at number 3 from an average price per transaction. Not a big shocker. Considerably lower than basketball, by the way. You're talking $48 versus $32 per sale, per transaction. Pretty staggering amount or decrease there. Hockey comes in above baseball at the number 4 position. Hockey is sitting at $26.61. Baseball, most volume of sales, the highest dollar amount, total dollar amount spent, lowest on this list for average price per transaction at $25.93. What that's telling us is that low-end market is healthy. It's the healthiest low-end market. So the cheaper cards, there's more of them selling. There's a greater demand for lower value cards. That's generally what you're wanting to see in most marketplaces, right? If you've got various tiered pricing points, you want to see a healthy marketplace at that low tier. Of course, you want to see higher highs. We want to see record-breaking cards. That's also indicators that we're moving in the right direction. But having a foundational base that's really, really solid, that's very important. And seeing that the volume is number one, but the price per transaction is sitting in number 5, that's not a bad thing. That's actually a really good thing. Okay, something to take a look at. And again, I'm skipping over good portions of the article. Feel free to go check this out for yourself. But there's a couple of things I want to point out here. We're going to look at baseball card, that market, and we're going to compare the final quarter. So October, November, December of 2022 versus the final quarter of 2023. And I want to compare where those two markets were at. We're going to do this for every sport. And generally, you get an idea of the health of each independent sport. Okay, baseball cards, 2022 was 8% higher, meaning the total sales, not the volume. The sales numbers were higher, 8% higher than they were in 2023. That means we're trending down, not a good thing. That means the cards, less money's coming into that marketplace. It's being spent on that marketplace. That means things are getting cheaper from a collector perspective. We like that. From a market perspective, from an investor, a dealer perspective, from a speculator perspective, that's not necessarily a good thing. Yeah, you can buy cheaper and then try and flip it. There's opportunities to be made, make money here. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is the health of the market is continuing to dwindle down. Now, 8%, is that a bad place to be? No, I think it's healthy considering where we're coming from. It certainly aligns with expectations we've talked about on this channel before. But, 8% is not shocking. And quite honestly, 2024, a prediction, I think we fall in a very similar category at the end, this same time next year. So early in 2025, when we're having the same discussion, I think when we're talking about 2024, if we've moved down between 5 and 10% on the baseball side, I think that, again, it's going to be a very similar market to what 2023 was. I don't think it's a bad market to be in. I don't think it's a bad space to be in. Outside of some sort of major economic disaster, outside of this, inside the U.S. government and the U.S. economic space, outside of something like that taking place, I'm not concerned or shocked by this decrease. I'm not concerned or shocked by future decreases. Still think there's room for us to come down. Go check out some of my earlier videos on the YouTube channel if you guys want to understand some of my thoughts as to why we dig into some of those details a little bit differently. So I'd encourage you guys to go watch some of those, but not a shock here. I don't think that there's any information that's new that, most folks are realizing that the market's soft. It's softening, has been soft. Most of us realize it's not falling. The sky's not falling anymore. We've been preaching that on this channel for some time. What does that actually look like? This is an interesting data point to look at. Q4 2022 versus Q4 2023, 8% decrease on the baseball side. Let's take a look at that on the football side though. That same time frame, 2022 versus 2023, only a 2% decrease. Only a 2% decrease. Now, if you go watch some of these channels that talk more about investing, which really they're just talking about speculating. Investing is long-term, buy with the idea that there's long-term value that you're going to gain. Speculating is buy today, sell tomorrow, and try and make as much money as possible. You'll hear people say, hot young quarterbacks, that market's dead, and so football cards are dead. No, that market is soft. That market, people are done speculating on Justin Fields and Kenny Pickett and, Trevor Lawrence to a certain degree, even though he's had a better year this year, Justin Herbert to a certain degree. Some of those guys, their markets have softened, rightfully so. Their markets were way overinflated. It's no different than the overinflation we've seen during the pandemic in the greater sports card market. Now it's just at a macro level. That macro level, the quarterback section has come down. People are not focused on that speculation play. But are football cards dead? No. Q4 2022 versus Q4 2023, we're only down 2%. The dollars spent in that time cycle versus this past time cycle, down 2%. People are putting money in more vintage. They're putting money in different players. They're putting money in more established players. They're putting more money in, collecting teams or, things that are more interesting than speculative quarterbacks that were overvalued. They're forecasting towards Hall of Famers. They're forecasting towards, greats of the game, GOATs, and things like that. We're only down 2% one year to a next. That's not a crazy amount, folks. The football card market is fine. It's the most stable, or one of the more stable markets, hockey being the second or right up there with them. It's one of the most stable markets we have. Don't listen to the noisemakers that want to tell you that because Justin Herbert cards fell and Joe Burrow cards fell, that the football card market's dead. It's not. It's not dead. It's just people would rather put their money in Montana and Jerry Rice, or they want to put their money in, Tom Brady because his cards are finally affordable. Don't fall for the hype. There's lots of hype channels out there that want to talk about the hype. Look at the numbers. Be smart about the way how you approach collecting, data analysis, market trending. Don't fall into the hype cycles. Don't fall into all the hype. It's my one suggestion. That's my one plea of everybody on this channel. Don't fall into the hype. It's fun. It can be fun, but football card market's fine. It's only down 2% in that same time period. Let's take a look at basketball. It's a completely different story. 2022 Q4 versus 2023 Q4. Considerable weakness, 14% dip. Again, this goes back to what I was saying slightly earlier. The high dollar market on the basketball side is still selling well. Now, it's not as well as it was selling 2 years ago. We've certainly come down off of those 2-year highs, but it's still selling fairly well. The low dollar market, the more foundational aspect of the market, it's not selling well. And that's evident, right? You go look at Anthony Edwards is talked about as possibly being one of the next it guys, the next faces of the NBA. You can go buy his base Prism rookie card for like $5 over on ComC, between $5 and $8 on ComC. You go look at Jalen Hurts Prism card from roughly the same year. I think they were the exact same year that they were rookies, right? And for that card, you're spending $15 to $20 on ComC. So the basketball marketplace, specifically these young crops, basketball is not as relevant. There's some political issues there. We're not going to get into those in today's video, but the basketball market doesn't have that next it guy. I don't think that it's Anthony Edwards. Maybe I'll eat those words in the future, but to me, Wembanyama doesn't look like he's the face of the NBA. We're still looking for that next LeBron, that next Jordan, that next Kobe Bryant. Right now, I don't know that we have them. And if we do, it's not clear. In prior folks, it's been a little bit more clear of who they've been. LeBron, right out of the chute, we knew it was him. So basketball looks weak, fairly weak. I fully expect we'll see more pain in the basketball space this year. The high dollar mark, eventually at some point in time, people are going to get sick and tired of paying $10,000 for a card to see it worth 15% less in 6 months. Sure, the type of person that's paying $10,000 for a card, they're less worried about that money, but still, nobody wants to see their asset depreciate that quickly. That high dollar sports card market on the basketball side, I think there's more weakness coming. I think 2024, we're going to see more weakness. I fully expect as we exit 2024, we'll see double-digit weakness again, right? That's the basketball marketplace. Unless something significantly changes. Right now, we're seeing trending that we're going to see double-digit losses again in 2024. And we're sitting in January. So you got 12 months to go through this roller coaster with me. But right now I'm projecting that we'll be down double digits in 2024 on the basketball card space. Take a look at soccer. Soccer is in the worst shape of the top 5. It was in second place as far as the average price per transaction at $35.40. We already talked about the World Cup impact and the fact that there was a bit of a bubble that took place at the end of 2022. When we compare Q4 2022 versus Q4 2023, the volume of sales is down 40%. Volume, that means if 10 cards sold last year, only 6 of those cards is selling today. We're down 40% in the volume that it's selling. The dollars, we're down 48% for the sold item price. We're down 48%. Again, we've seen some record highs. We've seen a lot of one-of-ones and really kind of modern, fairly modern, rare cards sell in 2023. Some really, high dollar Hollands and Messis and Ronaldos. High dollar market appears to be holding up the greater market. The low dollar soccer market almost is non-existent. I don't see anybody buying it. The transaction volume below certain price points is really, really small. If you're a collector, that's probably a good thing, right? You got plenty of opportunity out there to go buy a lot of cards, get them for very cheap prices. But a high dollar market is keeping soccer relevant right now, and it's not looking good. Dropping 40% in volume and 48% in the sales price, total dollars spent, probably the better way to say that, market cap, however you want to think about that, 48% lower on the soccer space. We got more pain coming. Now, is it 40% type of pain coming in 2024? I don't think so. I think we'll peel back from that. So it'll feel better in some respects, but you're still possibly talking 20, 25, maybe 30, 35% lower. We possibly have that much more. And that's because there's no foundation at the bottom. There's no foundation here. It's all those high dollar cards. There's only so many of those. At some point, again, if you're spending $10,000 on a card and it's worth $7,000 the next day, it's like buying an automobile, right? Unfortunately, an automobile you're going to use every day. A sports card, you're not. Some of these people are expecting value in the sports cards. And unless you're really playing the long game here, you're still overpaying. Right? You sit on some of these cards, you avoid buying them, and potentially you're buying them for 20, 30% cheaper at the end of 2024 than you would be paying for them today. Of course, how many times do one-on-ones come up? I take that, some of this is relative information, but take that for a grain of salt. Generally speaking, you're going to be spending less. I think soccer is going to continue to show a ton of weakness. There is no low-end volume. I would avoid soccer. I don't collect soccer as it is, but I would avoid soccer. I don't know that the market looks all that healthy. So it leapfrogged in total price spent in the marketplace. It leapfrogged hockey. I think hockey moves back into the 4th slot. It remained in number 4 related to volume. The thing about hockey is similar to baseball, and it's got its collector base figured out, right? Like, hockey collectors are tried and true. They're stable collectors. They know what they like to collect. They've been doing it for a long time. They don't have these spikes. It's not this spike market like we see in basketball and soccer and some of these other more modern kind of trendy sports. Hockey is more tried and true. That's what the collector base is. The overall market cap's much smaller, considerably smaller, in fact, but there's some things really working in hockey's favor. Basketball, we're looking for that next it guy. Hockey, we may have it, right? Connor Bedard has been a big name for the better part of a year. He's finally here. Seems to be performing all that well. I'm not a hockey fan. I don't watch a ton of hockey. So I'm reading headlines. I'm looking at things from afar. Anybody who wants to contribute into the hockey space, please let me know. Please contribute to the conversation. But I think guys like Connor Bedard, there's a couple of other stars, potentially rising stars, that are going to make hockey relevant. Hockey was flat for the year. For the most part, we were down a couple of percentage points. But I think with Connor Bedard, we could actually see hockey be worth the overall market cap be higher at the end of 2024 than where we're sitting at the start of 2024. That may feel like a stretch when we're talking about the overall sports card market coming down, but we may see more strength specifically on the hockey side. And in fact, of the big 5, hockey is the only one that I would project or predict potentially ends up in the black instead of the red for the year. Football was going to be fairly close. I still think it comes down a couple of points, generally speaking. I think baseball, it's not going to go down dramatically. I think there's still weakness in basketball. And quite honestly, there could be major weakness in basketball. I think that soccer is the red flag of the group. You probably need to avoid soccer unless you're a diehard, tried and true collector. And that's your thing. Then there's value there. And as a collector, Sometimes you want to buy when the market's at its weakest. Right now, that market's looking fairly weak. Be intelligent. Just recognize you may not have, if you need to get rid of those cards, you may not have the marketplace in the future to necessarily buy some of those cards. So you have to approach that as a collector. Collectors, there's opportunities. Investors, dealers, speculators, man, I wouldn't be excited about the soccer space. I'm not excited about the soccer space. So a couple of thoughts. Curious what you guys think. I'm curious to know if you guys kind of feel the same way, if this sort of data is interesting to you guys. Certainly go check out the data, absorb it for your own. If somebody needs the raw data, I do have this in a spreadsheet format that I can send kind of the month over month numbers. There's also some data from that we already have farmed out for some future podcast content. Again, long form content this year, podcast number 1. We're going to put this in the books officially. I'm excited. Long form content, a different change over here. I hope you guys will follow along or continue following along on this journey. We want to do things differently. We want to do things that we're excited about versus trying to chase what potentially, other people are excited about. And maybe that's me going against the grain, but if I'm going to make the time, or if I'm going to take the time and make the content, I want to do what I want to do. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up in my normal form and fashion, folks. Hope everybody has a wonderful 2024. Chat with you in the next one.